Hi everyone, I just got back we drove up to the mountains and gosh, it was beautiful out there. So I wanted to capture this beautiful blue that everything looked while we were out there. So I'm gonna just kind of draw in what I saw. I'm looking from a photograph I took that I will try and share with you. If I can. Back here, there was one taller mountain I've got right here. This kind of went like that. I will try to share the photograph with you. By the way, I'm working on Meeden Paper. It's 100% cotton, 140 pound. I'll put all my supplies in the bottom. 100% cotton, no cold press. And then, let's see, over here, it looks like there was one more mountain. Okay, there we go. So let me get this all wet and let's just work on our sky. So I'm going to use this big brush I've got here, and the sky was quite blue. So I want to add in a lot of blue up here. Now, as you can see, I've got a ton of water. A lot more than I usually advise you guys use. But for the sky, I think it works. And it's okay to even bring that in down into your mountains, because I think it creates this coherency with everything. And we'll build up the colors as we get closer down in here. I'm also going to be using cool and warm colors together, which is always kind of fun. So maybe up here it's a little bit darker. And this will dry lighter too. Something like that. There we go. Okay, real quickly, I want to just give this a shot. You know what, actually, let's put some of our color in down below. I'm going to use a yellow ochre, and I want to keep them separate because if they mix, they'll just turn green. So, adding a lot of water. Like this. Picking up some of that yellow ochre in my palette. Look how pretty the cool and the warm goes together. Not pretty. Oop. Okay. Just keeping this simple today. Can maybe add in a little bit of olive green here and there. And then I'll maybe add some salt, because it had buckwheat growing in the front here, and it was really pretty. There we go. Just lifting a tiny bit because those hills in the back are going to be a little bit lighter. They're going to be a little bit grayer. And as you move forward, the foreground will get darker. So there we go. That's all I want to do. And then let me find some tissue paper. Where is my toilet paper here? I like my toilet paper because it's so much lighter. But we'll use this here. Just pick up some of that. there, maybe just a couple clouds. I like to really scrunch it up. There we go. Like that. Yeah, I like that. Okay. While it's wet, actually, I could go in with a tiny bit of that blue, maybe even some Prussian blue, and just go in around the edges to show a tiny bit of maybe a shadow. And I'm doing this while it's wet just so that it kind of blends in. Just here and there where I might see a tiny bit of shadow. There we go. That's all I want to do. Okay. Let's see. Let's put in a tiny bit of salt here, which really doesn't, you know what, let's wait until we get a little darker wash because it won't show up too much. I'm going to give this a quick shot of, by the way, I'm working on a block, which means all the edges are sealed down. Let's go in and find a nice color of blue with a tiny bit of green in it. So I like the ultramarine blue. I also like ultramarine because it's a little bit granular, which I like. And then let's go, I'm going to leave these hills in the back kind of how they are. And then I want to add just a, let's see which green I want to use. Yeah, I like that green. So we'll add in some of that. Ooh, that's a pretty green. I like that. And then I'll keep my blue as well. So let's maybe put a little blue over here. There we go. So I've got both to kind of work with. What I'm going to do is wet my area first. Right here. And I could use a bigger brush. I could use my big old 16 here if I wanted. And now I'll go in and start putting in that darker blue. So pick that up, maybe with some of that green in there. Ooh, isn't that pretty? And I don't want it actually to be too perfect because I want it to almost look like there's some trees in the background. Like that. Add some more water there. So I'm just wetting my edges, kind of carrying that down into here. There we go. And then I'll do the same thing with maybe this one. So I just wet the area. And I love this brush. This is my cat's tail because I like the point and yet I can cover a lot of areas. So it works for me. It's great for florals too. So pick up some of that paint I grabbed, kind of giving it that uneven edge. And then I'm gonna let it fade out towards the bottom. Rinse my brush, pick up a tiny bit more, maybe even some of that Prussian blue. Just to kind of, oops, I picked up the wrong blue. Wanted Prussian blue, there we go. And I'm just gonna dot the top here. So see how I'm using that tip? I love that. kind of going all along there, maybe even adding in some here. I can kind of smooth that out. Maybe add in a little bit more green here and there. Let that kind of blend together. And this is my olive green, by the way. Softening that line. There we go. And I want to get rid of this line right here. So this is just clear water. I had a little bit of a line there. Okay, let's darken up this edge up here the same. So using my Prussian blue. Might even make that a tiny bit darker because it's over in the corner here. There we go. So I'm really just dotting in to give that effect that there's some little valleys in there, little light spots. And there we go. I'll end up going back and giving these one more glaze over just to make it look a little bit nicer. But this is what it looked like this morning. It was just gorgeous. And then I'm going to go in here with, if this is dry, let me give it a shot here. Turn this on. There we go. So you can see it lightened up. That's how I know it's dry. Oop. Put that back. Okay. And I'm going to do one more darker glaze right here. So grabbing that Prussian blue, maybe our olive green, and some of that Prussian blue. And I'm gonna go in here and do this. Which, you know what, let's get that wet first. I forgot that. Just wet this area. There we go. Right up to there. This brush I just love because I can cover so much area with it and get that little pointed tip is really handy. Okay, so let's go in there. Exactly what I wanted. Okay, perfect. There we go, maybe even a little bit more blue. Some of that green in there. Using my brush on its side. And I want to get a tiny bit more defined right in here. Look how pretty that is. Oh, I love that. So it almost looks like far away. There's little trees and such on there. And then maybe some more of that green. Because these hills are much closer, so I want them to look darker. Just added in some water there. Okay. I'm going to go along the edge here and just pick up some of that, because what I'm going to do here is add in some of that, what they call it, buckwheat. And then let's just wet this area here. And now I will take my handy dandy, let me see if I can find my smaller one. I like my smaller one better. This one's kind of hard to fit into my paints. I don't have it here, so I'll have to use this one. But what I usually, oh, here it is. What I usually do, see how I've spread these out? I like them to be really separate because I want to get this kind of wheat-like look. So let's put some of our yellow ochre in the palette here, which is the exact color this was. And I'm just going to start laying that down. I will definitely get this picture to you I took several, but the one that I'm kind of following right now had all this beautiful wheat, or whatever it's called, buckwheat. There we go. You could even scratch in here. So just keep going. Look at how beautiful these mountains are. And then I'm going to add in some dark green. So some of my, let's see, let's use this here. Some of my olive green. I want it to be a little darker than that, so let's use some of that. Especially in the front here, it was really dark green. Could even add in a little brown. Just very lightly, by the way, using this. And you can go in and kind of spread that out. There was this big patch right here. So I'm just going to keep, let's play a little bit with scratching. Let me find my brush to scratch. This is kind of drying quickly. I've got a fan going here. Grab my brush again. Go into that green. I'm going to add a tiny bit of brown to it. Ooh, yeah, there we go. That is a dark green. I'm going to make sure those little fanned pieces are sticking out. And just keep layering this. Layering, layering. The clouds were so beautiful today, you guys. Use some dry brush in there. Let's go back into some of that green. Like that. There we go. And I like using the dark because I'm going to go in and there was these little cream color, the buckwheat. And so I'm going to sprinkle that in. Okay. There was actually a little tree here too. But you know what? This is wet, so I'll wait. Let's give it a blast again. First, actually, let's let the white, take some of our white gouache here. Had some on my palette. And I want to make it quite white. Let me grab a paper towel. Cover it. Yeah, this is exactly what it looked like. This beautiful buckwheat. So I have some of it kind of in the background there, and that's why I left it kind of white. But once that dries, I'll go in and add in some little dots of white. So while this is dry, I'm just gonna go in, I'm sorry, while it's wet, and add in some dark spots here. And now we'd be able to scratch in, because it's wet, some of those areas. Soften that up a little. There we go. Okay. While that's drying, I want to go back in the background here and just darken that in a tiny, tiny bit. So I'm going to get all of this wet with my brush. Go right up to the edge of that. And then we'll go in with kind of this grayish blue. So I've got my Payne's blue here. Just gonna add in the tiniest bit of yellow ochre to give it that kind of gray color. There we go. And now let's wet this. Do the same thing. Going right down to the edges. And make this a little bit gray too, so they really fade back into the background. There we go. Okay, we've got one more mountain over here that I kind of forgot about, so let's get that wet. We're going to do the same thing with that gray, so we'll add some of our Prussian blue, maybe a tiny bit of green, some yellow, kind of mute it out. There we go. I just lift some of that. Really want it to look gray. There we go. And that will dry a lot lighter. Okay. I think I'm about done here. I'm going to dot in some of these little white flowers. I put them, oh, you know what, this might be wet, so let's give it a shot of hot air. There we go. And now we can put in these little tiny white flowers that I saw everywhere. You could even really take a toothbrush and do this. But I'm gonna go ahead because it's kind of relaxing for me. And I'm just going to dot them in like that. Just dipping in. This is white gouache, by the way. I'm using this Mission Titanium White. Titanium White typically in gouache is going to, what I have found, show up the most. There we go. So it's just kind of spotted here and there. Like that. And then we could even use a little bit of that muted green and add in, there were a few little, want it to be a little bit more brown. These little shrubberies. Like just some little trees. In the background there. Okay, well, I think I'm about done. Let me just take a look. Sometimes I need to walk away and see what it looks like and then come back. But I think I'm pretty happy with how that looks. The background is very muted. The midground is a little bit more. And then of course our foreground has quite a bit in there. Last thing I might add in, wrong brush, is in my, going to pick up that yellow ochre, a little bit of brown, and just add in, there was some tall grass here coming out. So I'm just really flicking my hand. There we go. Okay. I think I will stop right there, everybody. I will try to get my picture uploaded that I took as well, and you can kind of take a look at that. And happy painting. Thanks everyone for being here. Hi everyone. I was just sitting here. I just finished this video, but I was just sitting here and I was kind of looking at my picture, and it almost had, it has this bright gold. So you know me, anytime I can find a way to add in my metallics, this is the gold series you saw me use last year a lot during the holidays. I'm gonna try and put some of that in here. Let's see if I can get this softened up. There we go. And I'm gonna splatter some of that in, because I think if I could make that kind of show up here and there, it would really get that morning light, how it was kind of highlighting some pieces. Ooh, yeah, exactly. This is exactly what I wanted. I'm so glad I turned the camera back on, because this grass, this wheat almost looked like it was like lit up. Yeah, that is really pretty. That is exactly what I wanted. I'm glad I did this. This is just what it looked like. Okay, now I feel complete. Look at that. Look how pretty. Isn't that pretty? All right, and there you go, you guys. I hope you give that a try. It was a lot of fun for me, and I'm always happy when I can paint what I see when I'm traveling and when I'm hiking. Thanks, everyone.